Hello everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we are gonna go back in time because I was bored, so I was watching some stuff on YouTube and I totally randomly felt on a replay of a Blitz replay, but a really old one, like 6 years ago. A replay that is coming from the beta test of WoT Blitz. Let's give me some context here so you understand what I mean. Before the game was released in 2014, there is at least 1 year where the game is being tested on private servers with people that have to register in order to participate into that beta testing. Those guys are called the beta tester, and the guy we're gonna watch today, which is called Cold Shots, had his account registered and therefore could play the beta. So you're watching the game, or you're gonna watch a replay of the game before the game was even released. And what is really interesting is that we are gonna be able to compare what the game was 6 years ago and what the game is now. But let's not lose too much time and jump directly into it. Let me launch it. Here we go. As you can see, the first thing to notice, of course, the nostalgia of the old Tier 1. We had the late tractor for the Germans, we had the MS-1 for the Russians, and the T1 Cunningham for the Americans. Back in the days, it was not 47 Tech Tree Tank that you could unlock, Tier 10 Tech Tree Tank. We only had 6, 2 for each nations, and the only nations we had actually were Germans, Russian, and Americans, of course. The graphics, man. The graphics. We need to talk about the graphics. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, that looks freaking ugly, how horrible, it's a crime against humanity. But no, let me explain. We are in 2014, guys. In 2014, the biggest iPhone we have is the iPhone 4. And with an iPhone 4, you didn't have the capabilities and the resources to have that much of a great game in terms of graphics. It was impossible, especially if you wanted to make it fluent. Actually, if we compare WoT Blitz back in the days with other games from the mobile store, it's actually doing pretty well because this game is pretty fluent for the graphics we had back in the days. Honestly, it's not that bad. Of course, if you compare it with today, but you know, technology is going super fast, so I mean, here, if we take the game in 2020 and we take the game in 2026, in 2026, you're gonna say, bah, the game in 2020 looks horrible and stuff. But actually, if we put it back into its time zone, the game is actually well done in terms of graphic. Honestly, I don't have anything else to say. And even if they could have increased a little bit the graphics, they didn't, to allow everybody, not depending on what phone you were using, to be able to play fluently in order to gain people. And that worked because WoT Blitz is actually one of the most downloaded games of any app stores. Not as much as Red Shadow Legends and all these kind of games, but it's actually at least in the top 100, which is already really great, knowing that at least 10 or 20 apps are released every day. And that's why for a mobile game, getting 6 years of lifespan is quite amazing. The second thing to notice, of course, the old HUD. Let me talk real quick about what was the most annoying thing about the HUD back in the days. As you saw in the replay, you had two different buttons to shoot, but you had one above the directional pad. Therefore, when you try to move forward, if you went a little bit too far, your thumb will sip on the shooting button and it will make you shot. Of course, if you were playing with the late tractor, it's not really a problem because you only have 3 seconds of reload. But trust me, when you were playing with Tier 10, it was freaking annoying. Now, of course, one last thing to notice before we throw back to 6 years after in 2020, the equipments. Back in the days, we didn't have 9 equipments for each slots. Back in the days, it was 9 equipments overall, and out of all those 9 equipments, only 3 were worth it. The gun rammer, the ventilation, and the last one that I forgot the name, but it's about focusing faster. And pretty much everybody used the same. That's why Wargaming decided to remove it and to go from a 9 equipment system where everybody played the exact same equipments all the time to something a little bit more specific that will adapt to your playstyle. And for that was actually a really good idea. I was against at first, but nowadays I really like it. But let's not lose too much time and jump directly into the game in 2020. Of course, the game in 2020 looks way better. I'm sorry if the quality is not the best because I actually recorded the game with Windows G and not my regular recording device, which is compressing, and therefore the quality is a little bit under low, and probably we're gonna drop some FPS. I'm really sorry. I know I can see it, but I don't know if you, after the editing, you will be able to see it. But hey, when you take a look at the game today, of course the first thing that comes into your mind is, wow, how is the game so beautiful? Because of course a lot of people are criticizing the game saying, yeah, compared to the real World of Tanks, it looks really bad. But hey, before comparing two games that have nothing in common because one is playing on PC only and one on mobile game, try to compare the game with itself 6 years ago. Honestly, the developers did a really great job in order for us to appreciate the game through tanks, but mostly through graphics. Today, I think a lot of people still play this game because it looks beautiful for a mobile game. And even knowing, of course, it helps that the technology developed, because if we still had iPhone 4s, it would be impossible for us to play the game. We would RAM, it would be completely impossible simply because we have also attachments, etc. And all those aesthetic things Wargaming is adding into the game, those things are first extremely important if you want to keep your player base, but also they demand a lot of resources. And when you demand a lot of resources, you need two things: a really good device on which you're playing, and also a really good connection. Nowadays in 2020 we have the 4G, we are coming to the 5G, so it should be easier and easier for Wargaming to implement massive aesthetic stuffs and improve the graphics. But for the moment we're still a little bit under low, because even if the phones are developing, as the price is getting higher and higher, less and less people are actually able to buy really strong phones. That's why Wargaming is, yes, improving graphically the game, but still they don't do it too fast, because they know they have to deal with one thing that is totally out of their control, which is the phones provider, the price on the global markets of different phones. But even if we talk about that, Wargaming did an amazing job. If you look at the game, it's really fluent. Of course, nostalgia about the old tier 1, because nowadays those are the new tier 1, and back in the days all those tanks here were all tier 2. I don't know, I feel like Wargaming, I do not totally understand the 5.5 update. I can understand making the game easier, but I don't understand why they got rid of the tier 1, because all the tier 1 were actually really fun. At least maybe if they removed all the other tanks, I don't really mind too much because I was not playing those tanks. But for the tier 1, god damn it, why? I mean, that's the first thing you see. It's like your World of Tanks Blitz childhood getting destroyed, you know? But hey, that's their game, they do whatever they want, and it's already done. We can't go back in the past. Now, maybe one last thing I want to talk about concerning the game that I did not talk about in the old replay video. With the game comes a great balancing nowadays. I know a lot of people are gonna cry like, ah no, the game is becoming pay to win, all the premiums are completely broken, it's impossible for Tech 3 to compete, etc, etc. Sometimes it's true, I agree with you, but seriously, the balancing in the old World of Tanks World of Tanks Blitz, sorry, was completely shit, simply because back in the days, the first time the game was released, it was impossible for you to buy your gold shells with something else than gold. So you had to spend actually money, real money, to be able to penetrate your targets. And trust me, back in the days, the king of the king was the Yak Penta E100 because of that, because nobody could penetrate it. So if we sum up this video, yes, we improved the graphics, yes, we improved the balancing, but give us back the tier 1, please, Wargaming. This video is now over. Feel free to enjoy, feel free to like, feel free to feel, and see ya.